Hello, all. Good morning. Welcome to APAC Sustainable Urban Innovation Conclave focusing on Maharashtra. We are happy to welcome all of you. This is a very unique event which will be focusing on various aspects of urban transformation with special focus on innovation and technology and how innovation can be leveraged to bring transformation in the urban ecosystem. And we are thankful to our supporting partner, MMRDA, our banking partner, Bank of Maharashtra, for being part of this event. And we're also thankful to our program mentor, Mr. SVR Srinivas, Senior IS Officer, Metropolitan Commissioner of MMRDA, Government of Maharashtra, for guiding us with his vision. And he'll be joining us now. Um, Before we start the inaugural session, let me inform all of you that throughout the day we'll be discussing on various aspects of urban transformation, be it smart cities, be it Swachh Bharat, with other initiatives being taken in the government of Maharashtra, and again, securing cities. All this will be discussed. And for the inaugural session, we have with us eminent speakers from the state of Maharashtra and also global experts who are joining us and diplomats are joining us. Let me welcome uh, Guilhermo de Aguirre Patriota, Honorable Consul General of Brazil Consulate in Mumbai. We welcome Mr. Patriota. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we have Mr. Patriota on screen, please? Yeah. We
Yes,
welcome. Thank you
thank
so
you
much
very
for
much.
joining us. We're
It's
also
my
joined
pleasure.
by we're also joined by Arne Jan Flolo, Consul General of Royal Norwegian Consul General in Mumbai. We welcome Mr. Arne. Thank you so much for joining us in the inaugural.
Good morning, namaste, and very happy to be here and to take part.
We're also joined by Mr. Rahul Kardail, IS Officer, Joint Metropolitan Commissioner, MMRDA, Government of Maharashtra. We welcome Mr. Rahul. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, all, and thank you very much. We'll be pleased to be here. Thank
I'll come back to all of you for your speeches and your presentations. But before that, let me welcome Sri SVR Srinivas, Senior IS Officer, Metropolitan Commissioner, MMRDA, Government of Maharashtra, for his welcome address, who also happens to be the program mentor of APEC Sustainable Urban Innovation Conclave, Maharashtra. We welcome Sri SVR Srinivas. Over to you for your welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. I, yours truly, Srinivas, welcomes you all to this Urban Innovations Conference by Infrastructure Development. This conference comes at a time in the post-COVID times, in particular, where a lot of things are changing. We have had Black Swan event in the form of COVID, which has having long lasting impact which were never foreseen. The way we live, the way we move, the way we commute, and all the way we telecommute and telecommunicate, and the way we work finally. Things are changing quite fast. And this change, in addition to the inexorable change and transformation in the form of urbanization, both migration led as well as in situ, both these are such events and such processes which call for innovative solutions, especially in a country like India, and in particular the Maharashtra, which is the most urbanized state, if I may say so. If not in terms of the ULBs, but in terms of population, if we count the floating population, it is near 50%. And there is no resident of the state, hardly any, who are not affected by this process directly or indirectly. So the urbanization process calls for innovative solutions, and it calls, in addition to the routine responses, some nimble-footedness and flexibility in the thought process and quick response. Now, coming to MMRDA, you all know that we are implementing and executing several projects in terms of the metro rails, the longest sea bridge in India being under construction, and overall about more than a lakh of crore worth of projects are under execution as I speak. And we also have a second backbone. Generally, organizations have one backbone. We have another one that is called planning. Urban planning is another huge asset that we have built and conserved and nurtured over decades. These two combined, we are trying to come out with some solutions and long-term solutions in that. However, we will not talk about MMRDA now. We'll talk about the context of this conference, where all of you, the urban practitioners, need to discuss, churn, and come out with nimble-footed, innovative solutions for the problems of the present, so that the cities of today are future ready. The issues concerning these cities in India and the towns and municipalities and nagar panchayats are somewhat similar, but each one is unique in its own. Cities like tier 1 cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, and even cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, they are in one category. We try to put it that way, but the problems of Mumbai are different from those of Delhi in many ways, although they are similar in some ways. So each practitioner and each policy maker and each sector specialist has to come out with individualized solutions which are sustainable in the long run. Otherwise, these solutions will be short lived, and tomorrow there will be a lot of expenditure done but with no results. That is one. And secondly, what are the issues facing these urban local bodies today? Number one, very basic thing, there are certain things very basic as solid waste management, liquid waste management, right? As basic as that, sanitation. But there are also certain things which need to be done in terms of living spaces, open spaces, commuting, public transport, transit. These are the things which are necessary. While doing all this, it is also necessary to incorporate into this process things like walk to work. We cannot keep on subsidizing, or we cannot keep on building infrastructure which involves more and more commute, right? The limits of growth, if some of us have read the classics, there are limits to growth. So ultimately the limits will be reached sooner than what we think. So especially in the context of the COP26, the conference that has happened recently in Glasgow, in this context, the sustainability is the key for the future of these cities and towns in India. So the issues are not just maintenance of the cities, like maintaining roads, maintaining street lights, maintaining solid waste. All these things are there. That have to be done in a most efficient and in a most let's say cost-effective manner. At the same time, the second part, one is about maintenance, as I said, of the day-to-day functioning of the city and town. But the second part is equally important, building more and more infrastructure which is sustainable in the long run, right? So that becomes very important. Especially, it is necessary for us to go to the last mile. Ultimately, what we need is last mile connectivity. Without that, whatever infrastructure we build becomes a sort of, I would say, unsustainable, and it will not reach the common man. So we need to rethink about the way we build the infrastructures, the build the infrastructure in urban areas. Now, second part is about innovations. The second part is about the way we mobilize funds. There should be innovative methods of mobilizing funds. Each local body finds it difficult. I have been a practitioner in this sector, in the urban infrastructure sector, for nearly 2 decades. So The problems I found in the year 99, 2000 are only much more compounded today, much more complex for the same cities where I had worked earlier. Although we did certain things, like for example, we had done waste to energy plants, we had done ring roads, etc. But the population, the urbanization process and the population increase call for innovative methods of not just executing the projects, but also, if I may say so, innovative methods of raising finance for these projects. It is not just, none of the corporations or ULB's budget is sufficient to come out with sufficient funds on their own. So you have to come out with innovative methods. Maybe one has to go through SPV method or public-private partnerships. And there are, and now you have investment trusts which can fund the projects, right? And you can use land as a resource, oriented development, name what you have. All these things have to be used in conjunction and comprehensively, so that there is no issue regarding raising of funds in time, so that the projects are completed in time. And finally, since the time is short, I would like to say one thing very important. It is important for all the stakeholders to come together in the cause of successful urbanization. What is successful urbanization? Successful urbanization, as I see it, the living in cities which are harmonious, which are sustainable, and which are becoming more livable. Cities are the engines of economic growth. All of us know this, right? And there in future is going to be more and more uh, true, much more true than earlier. But what we need in the context of the 21st century, and in the context of technology that is happening, in the context of the unforeseen black swan events that are happening, we have to see in such a way, we have to work in such a way that all the stakeholders are brought as far as possible on a single platform, and technology makes it possible, so that all their views are taken care and the final decisions are made. Otherwise, if the stakeholders are left out, then the programs and projects will not be successful. So the third point I am trying to impress upon all of you is inclusive and participatory growth process. So these are the 3 points I thought I will emphasize as far as this conference is concerned, which they should perhaps debate upon and deliberate upon. And as a host city, Mumbai, and as a Metropolitan Commission MMRD, I would like to once again welcome all of you to this virtual conference, and uh, wish you all success. And I also take this opportunity to thank APAC for the organizing this event, and wish you all success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was Mr. SVR Srinivas, Metropolitan Commissioner MMRDA, Government of Maharashtra, for his welcome address, and also being the program mentor. He also set the tone of the discussion which can take place throughout the day. If I take a crux of what he has said, that sustainability is the key for development of future cities and towns across India. Obviously, maintenance has to be there, but that has to be cost-effective manner, and sustainable infrastructure has to be in place. And technology is going to play a very important role in bringing all stakeholders together under one platform to make that comprehensive urban transformation ecosystem. Thank you so much, Mr. Srinivas. With this, we move to a special guest. We have with us Guilherme de Aguiar Patriota, Honorable Consul General of Brazil, Consulate General in Mumbai. We welcome Mr. Guilherme. Uh, we know if you talk about Brazil, there are cities which are there like Sao Paulo, Belo Horizonte, or Vitoria, or Rio. They are known to be the smart cities not only in Brazil but also world over, especially when we talk about connected cities. In the meantime, we also welcome Mr. Ram Ragiri, Deputy General Manager and Zonal Manager, Bank of Maharashtra, Mumbai North Zone. Thank you so much, Mr. Ram, for joining us. So over to you, Mr. Guilherme. Your thoughts on international perspective on global collaboration opportunities to build a sustainable and resilient cities. What are the areas where you see Brazil, Maharashtra government or Indian government can collaborate when you talk about building sustainable cities of future? Over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Goswami. It's very nice to be here. I also like to thank Mr. Srinivas, who gave us the honor of the opening remarks. I'm very honored to be here to address this event on sustainable cities, organized by APAC News Networks and the Mumbai Metropolitan Region Development Authority for the government of Maharashtra. First of all, I must say that I was very impressed with the high-profile presence of Minister Aditya Thakkare at COP26 in Glasgow. So he was there to receive an award on behalf of Maharashtra State. It was the Inspiring Regional Leadership Award. So this award is given by an entity which is called the Under 2 Coalition. This is a network of cities and subnational entities joined together in 2015 under the same commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to the level of 80 to 95% below the 1990 levels up until 2050. So there's a huge commitment. There are many members of this coalition, and I must say that Brazil has 9 states that are members. They have subscribed to this, including the city of São Paulo that you just mentioned. And India has 5 federated entities, including the state of Maharashtra. So we're joined in this common platform. And it was quite nice to see Maharashtra being recognized and the minister receiving this award in Glasgow. I think it's a huge statement as to how much the state has progressed in terms of its efforts to reduce emissions and adopt sustainable development policies. So amongst the commitments in that same under 2 coalition, there's a commitment also to share best practices, which is what we are doing in this event, and to carry out joint scientific research, cities with cities. So it's a way for cities and municipalities to interact with each other at the global scale. And I think this is very important as part of the solution. One thing that we achieved during the negotiation of the Sustainable Development Agenda in the United Nations is this understanding that cities are a key element to achieve progress in terms of sustainability. And they must act locally, but also interact globally. So we cannot have cities waiting for national governments until they formulate and adopt national policies and programs, and then you have the trickle down of the budget process. It takes time. I mean, it's very important, but it takes time. And I think most people nowadays in large countries like India and Brazil, they're more and more concentrated in the urban, the large metropolitan regions. In Brazil, almost 85% of our population has moved over the years from the rural areas into the main cities. So it's really become, in my lifetime and my lifespan, Brazil has gone from rural to urban almost completely. And that just enhances the challenge. And something similar is happening in India, not to the same extent yet, but you're looking into huge metropolitan areas, very dense, with lots of sustainability challenges that need to be tackled immediately at the local level. Happily, I know that the Mumbai region is fairly well endowed with a large budget and financing, being Maharashtra one of the wealthiest and more industrial states of India, just like São Paulo in Brazil is also the wealthiest and the more industrialized state in Brazil. So at that level, there are more resources in relative terms. Resources, of course, are never enough for these challenges. But I'm also very proud to discuss these issues today because I was Brazil's main negotiator for the Sustainable Development Goals at the United Nations during the years 2014, 2015. So I was deeply and personally involved with that. I was Brazil's deputy ambassador in New York to the UN at the time. And as you know, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that were negotiated within the United Nations during that time they have a lot to do with Brazil, and they speak very strongly to us, because there's a huge Brazilian imprint in a way in all that was discussed and adopted there. As you know, the SDGs came out of the Rio Plus 20 conference in 2012. So all UN members were there in Rio de Janeiro. India was there. And we adopted at the time a document called The Future We Want. And from that document, we extracted the SDGs, 17 of them, and then 169 goals. And then later on, we established a huge set of indexes and benchmarking, the way to measure progress in this very complex and integrated area. It's an issue I'll talk a little bit more about. And again, I think it's the real trick that we, or the great leap that we took with the SDGs, was the fact that we all found a way to integrate economic development, social development with inclusion, and environmental sustainability into a single concept. Until then, for many countries and people, it was always a choice. Either you develop or you try to become sustainable. It was considered very difficult to join the two at the core. But I think with the SDGs and the recent agreements that we have achieved, and with the climate issues at the vanguard of our concerns, and people really realizing that they cannot continue to exploit natural resources to the point of depletion without hindering the prospects for human life quality and human progress. I think there's a new conscience that there's no alternative. We have to conciliate economic development, social inclusion, poverty elimination, and environmental sustainability. They have to go together along. So there's no time. We cannot sequence them, wait to achieve one until you deal with the other. They have to be dealt with together at the same time. I think that's the great lesson that we have, and we're all working in that direction. I think in Brazil, we have many initiatives at the local level that we can talk of. I don't have a lot of time. I think one great measure beyond the policies, you have now a common platform negotiated by the UN, which is universal in nature. So all countries, not only governments, but private sector, academia, civil society, they can embrace a common platform that is very complete. It covers everything from education to health, to poverty reduction and elimination, to inequality, gender inequalities, to cities, sustainable cities, which is SDG 11. So that's the SDG under which we are sort of meeting today. And cities have their roles recognized in that particular document as a central role. Things will happen at the city level, at the municipality level. So you have huge challenges in your hands. And we in Brazil are now refining data. So we're gathering data, because you cannot do much if you don't know what your current situation is. You have to measure things. You have to measure inequality, levels of poverty, levels of emissions, levels of recycling, so on and so forth. Everything has to be measured, and in a similar way, in a comparable way. So we have now a global methodology for this. And in Brazil, we are kind of taking all this on board. We have recently launched, together with Minister Takerai in Glasgow, we had a Brazilian team talking about our new observatory for sustainable development. We're creating this in our capital in Brasilia, so they will be concentrating all of the data for implementation and benchmarking of SDGs. So there's a methodology for that. Of course, they pick up on the global methodology, and we adapt this to Brazil. And this is going to be used, it's like a dashboard, it's called. So dashboard for Brazilian cities. And we have taken the 19 most populous metropolitan areas of Brazil to apply this dashboard as a means of measuring progress and as a means of guiding policies at the local level. So the data is critical, it's crucial. You can't do anything without the data. And these 19 most populous metropolitan areas in Brazil, they comprise about 40% of our national population. So it's almost half the population in these areas. It's quite very, very, very significant. So I think that's an experiment that we should share with Maharashtra, our observatory, and the way in which we deal with these dashboard elements to kind of guide policy and measure progress. And we should find ways to cooperate on these. The dashboard indicates an interrelation between sustainable development goals. So we can't just talk about the sustainable cities. We also have to talk about the goal of poverty reduction and elimination. We have to talk about the goals of inequality, and there's a direct correlation. That's what we learn in Brazil. So the less unequal areas of Brazil, or the most equal areas of Brazil, the areas that have the highest education levels, tend to be also the areas that are more sustainable. So you see an interrelation between these things. We have to tackle these issues jointly. Can't be just sustainable if the population is not being included in being employed, if they're not being educated, because through education, in the long run, that's where you make a huge impact as well, because sustainability has to do with people's outlook in their daily lives, and understand, that they have to take public transportation, that they have to have an approach to recycling, so on and so forth. So I think that's an important thing. We're at that level of implementing this observatory, the benchmarking, the measurements. And just to finally conclude and have a more concrete reference for you in terms of Brazil, India, I think it's important to mention that here in Mumbai, we have a Brazilian joint venture. We participate in a joint venture with the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. And this is done with a company that is called LADA. So Brazilian company LADA and the Indian company AWHCPL, that's called Anthony. Those are the two companies, LADA from Brazil and Anthony. So for the last 12 years, it's not recent, they have been joined in trying to develop environmentally safe waste disposal facilities and providing environmental solutions for non-hazardous waste reduction and disposal. This joint venture has been awarded the project of scientific sanitary landfill for the MCGM. It's a huge project. It lasts 25 years, so this joint venture will continue for yet another 13 years, with Brazil being a part of this here in the greater Mumbai metropolitan region. And once it's concluded, it will be the single largest plant in Asia to process a minimum of 4,000 tons of waste per day. So I'm very happy and proud that Brazil has a contribution to make, that we have joined hands to deal with such a pressing issue. Through this, we can see that Mumbai will reduce carbon footprint, and these reductions will be eligible for carbon credits under the Kyoto Protocol. So this kind of puts already Mumbai straight into an international agreement targeting emission reduction in a very concrete and modern manner. Other areas where we should cooperate, I think, and I've been saying this for a while, where Brazil, India being huge producers of sugar, is the ethanol-based fuel for cars and buses. In Brazil, we have adopted that. We have flex fuel cars running all over the country. You can put either gasoline or alcohol fuel in these cars. They will take both without any changes. And the alcohol fuel has a much lower level of emissions, so it does help and contribute. I know you have electric cars today, but electric cars are also very expensive. So that's an area. I've heard Prime Minister Modi speak of his intention to look into this and to see the possibilities of India also producing alcohol fuel derived from sugarcane to explore the possibility of increasing the usage of this fuel to reduce emissions. So I think that's a very promising area for Brazil-India cooperation. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Honorable Consul General of Consulate of Brazil in Mumbai. So Brazil is not about only Pele and football. A lot of things are happening in the urban transformation space. As you rightly said, that for you think that cities are the key elements to achieve sustainable development goals. But when you talk about urban transformation, we also have to think about poverty reduction and bringing equality to the system so that everybody is developed together. And you also talked about the areas of collaboration between Brazil and the state of Maharashtra. What is happening, what can be done. So thank you so much, Mr. Guilherme, for joining us in the inaugural and sharing your views. You talked about the uh, sustainable angle also. Let's move to one of the sustainable countries in the world. We have with us Mr. Arne Jan Flolo, Honorable Consul General of Royal Norwegian Consul General in Mumbai. We welcome Mr. Arne. We know about Norway, and if I'm not wrong, I think Oslo is one of the top 5 cities in the world which is known in terms of sustainable cities. Uh, and I think Norway, and especially Oslo, the city Oslo is also leveraging a lot of newest technology like ICT, IoT, everything for various citizen-centric services, e-governance in Oslo. And I think that Norway has set a target of reduction of emission by 50% since 1990 by 2030, if I'm not wrong. So let's hear from the man himself, Mr. Arne and Flolo, Honorable Consul General of Consulate of Norway in Mumbai. Over to you, Mr. Arne.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible and also visible.
Yes.
Very good. The sound from you have come through a bit broken to me, but I hope that it will be, when I speak, it's unbroken, relayed to you. Let me know if you lose me on the way so that I can see if I can make some corrections.
You're completely visible and audible, so please go ahead.
Okay, very good. So, distinguished participants, I would like to thank MMRDA and APAC for organizing this Sustainable Innovation Conclave and for inviting me to take part and to be a key speaker. COP26 in Glasgow is just behind us, and so it's a very timely event. All of this is fresh in mind, and we move forwards with the common realization that the challenges we face are really great, and that we need to strengthen and to continue the global commitment to work together. So global collaboration, which sort of is the theme of my introduction, is indeed a vital part for achieving our goals. I don't think I have to say very much about what happened in Glasgow. We all are updated on it, but I'm very happy to note that there's the continued ambition of global warming of only 1.5 degrees. And it doesn't sound very like an ambitious target, 1.5, but this is, of course, very, very significant. And it's only possible to achieve this goal if all countries keep their promises and commitments, and also that all countries act quickly. And there are already huge cuts that have to be taken on before 2030. We have 9 more years to go, and 45% global cut in CO2 emissions from 2010 level. That's quite significant, and there's no time to wait. And I say this also because everybody have to contribute, and no one can stand outside the ring and declare that they have no responsibility. And we are already seeing the effects of climate change. Climate change is sort of not happening in the future. It is happening here now. And when we watch television, we see, weekly or monthly that there are fires, there are floods, droughts, storms, and cyclones causing damages of billions of dollars, and of course with enormous human costs. And I know from staying here, I mean, no one can avoid this. And Mumbai and Maharashtra is already facing unprecedented storms and changed weather patterns. And the monsoon is already starting to be affected. So it's here now. I am therefore very happy to note that the government of Maharashtra, through its visionary Minister for Environment, Honorable Minister Aditya Thackeray, took part at the global stage in Glasgow, showing regional leadership and being also recognized for that with the award, as my colleague just mentioned, and building international partnerships. And through this is taking the lead among Indian states on climate policies and actions. And this is very, very important. Progress in Maharashtra and Mumbai will not only be important for Mumbai and Maharashtra, it will be important for India, and it will be important for the whole world. I was particularly happy to see the meeting between Minister Thackeray and the Deputy Mayor of Oslo in Glasgow. The collaboration between Oslo and Mumbai and Maharashtra is now being developed and it's being strengthened. Oslo and Mumbai are C40 cities, and therefore we are international partners in taking bold and forward-leaning climate actions. Mumbai/Maharashtra is working on its climate action plan and is drawing on international experience and lessons, such as from Oslo. And Oslo has taken the front position in climate budgeting and collaboration, and sort of that front position is being developed together with the C40 office in Oslo, and it's being linked up with the Ministry of Environment here in Maharashtra. I'm very happy to note this, and Mumbai is one out of 4 pilot countries for the collaboration on climate budgeting. So I would like to say here that I'm very, very committed to support this work in any way I can and to build on it as we go forwards. Before I start on the substance, I would like to underline the importance of the political dimension of this collaboration. To be forward-leaning and building international collaboration is sending an important signal to the world. It strengthens relationships and it motivates politicians, and it also motivates our companies and the transfer of technology. It raises the awareness globally about Maharashtra and Mumbai's ambitions and plans. Back to the substance. A climate budget is a very good and natural start. It creates the overview. It is like a financial budget, but only that you put in the emissions and you develop the targets. The next is to work to meet the budget, meaning to cut the emissions from sector to sector. And here, learning from each other is important. So the collaboration between Oslo and Maharashtra and Mumbai on climate budgeting frames a partnership, and it connects the dots on a number of initiatives where we work together today and where we see a great potential for collaboration as we go forwards. And that is also why I highlight the importance of the meeting between the Deputy Mayor of Oslo and Minister Honorable Aditya Thackeray. This is very, very important in order to sort of frame this collaboration and to agree to work together and to hold hands as we go forwards. I would like to mention a few, it will be 4 important sectors, which again fits nicely into the climate action plan of Mumbai and Maharashtra. And the first one is on clean technologies. Norwegian municipalities such as Oslo are developing smart energy grids, smart waste and smart water management systems, and planners and policymakers can use a digital twin fed with data from the Internet of Things on things like traffic, people's movements, power systems, street lights, and the weather, and to make more accurate and efficient decisions without tearing up streets and putting down cables. 2, Waste management. In Oslo, we have over the year, sort of the last few years, had a reduction of residual waste by 10%, and this is despite that we consume more and we have a huge economic growth. 40% of our material is recycled. We have in place optic sorting, where every household would have green and blue bags, and they would have a bag for residual waste. The green bag is food and biodegradable waste. And this is then, as I said, it's optically sorted when it comes from the truck into the waste receiving plant. And the green, as I said, is food and biodegradable waste, and that's going to biogas and biofertilizers. The blue bag is plastic, going to fleece clothes, flower pots, toys, etc. And the residual waste goes to producing electricity and to heating. So all schools in Oslo are actually heated by this. In addition, every household, and this sorting actually takes place at household level. It's only the optic sorting at the plant for the bags, but people do the sorting at home. Also, we sort paper, we sort glass and cans, and we reuse and we recycle clothes. We go to waste collection centers where we sort our waste in big containers, according to what they are. So we have systems in place, and we have experience that we are very, very happy to share, and also happy to see how we can work together on technology. Under this, I would like to say that a study by TOMRA, which is Norway's leading waste management company, they point out that adoption of holistic resource systems could save 3 billion tons of CO2 annually. Holistic resource systems includes the optimized combination of key waste management practices for collection, sorting, and recycling to facilitate the transition towards a circular economy. It prevents resource depletion, it reduces littering, and it contributes to a carbon neutral world. HRS, or Holistic Resource Systems, offers an ideal combination of political framework regulations, such as extended producer responsibility, deposit return schemes, and technical processes for waste handling. So TOMRA, which is sort of very active in India and also in Mumbai, provides technology-led solutions that enable the circular economy with advanced collection and sorting systems that optimize resource recovery and minimize waste in the food and in the recycling and mining industries. So I could also mention another company active in India and in Maharashtra, which is Kambi, on wet waste or sludge, taking part in tenders that are announced by various authorities. The last thing I would like to mention under this point is the collaboration with Afro Shah Foundation on ocean plastic, which creates awareness. It sort of creates good practices, and it works on finding models for circular economy. And the knowledge from the beach and mangroves is very important in order to find the ways to reduce garbage and preventing it from polluting our environment and oceans. So there's a lot of knowledge to be taken from the beach and into systems. The third theme I would like to mention is green mobility. As some of you know, 8 out of 10 new cars sold in Norway are electric vehicles today, 8 out of 10. And we are at the absolute forefront globally with these figures. And the government is aiming to phase out sales of petrol engines by 2025. That's 4 years from now. And the government is intending to replace all public sector vehicles with battery operated vehicles by 2022. That is next year. Oslo is already moving in the direction for making all public buses, boats, and all new taxis fossil free. The vehicle fleet will include electric vehicles, as I mentioned, but also those running on biogas, biofuel, and hydrogen power vehicles. We have had the world's most forward-leaning incentive scheme to achieve this development on EVs. While the incentive framework for the EVs will be more relaxed in the years to come, this sort of process has the snowball has rolled so much that actually they don't believe that it's necessary to have the same incentive scheme there. So it's a transitional incentive scheme until we have reached where we want to be. But it is also then time for hydrogen-powered cars to shine. So drivers owning a hydrogen car can now benefit from the same incentive package as the EV drivers have had since 2017. So we have hydrogen cars on the road now, but we aim that there will be a huge increase in the number of cars also on hydrogen. And I would like to also acknowledge that Mumbai, Maharashtra, has been moving forwards on EVs, and I was personally very honored to take part in the inauguration of 60 electric buses together with the Honorable Minister Thakurai some weeks back. And this is an area where we would like to continue to work together, because EVs is actually about the whole value chain and not only about the cars. And there's experience from Oslo and Norway that we would be very happy to share. And once again, I would like to say that we already have this framework of climate budgeting in place, as an overarching structure for all of these components that I mentioned, all these thematic areas that I mentioned. So it all is in place. It is sort of about just moving on each and every theme. The fourth and the last area I would like to highlight this time is on renewable energy and green transportation beyond electric vehicles. Because Norway and India, we are partnering up on hydrogen. And Norwegian companies are partnering with Indian companies. In Norway, we have a technology, but we don't have volume. Scaling is difficult. But in India, scaling is possible. There is volume. So that's also why we see this great potential, both countries, for collaborating in bringing costs down, like for hydrogen. And from Norway, we build on 100 years of experience of producing hydrogen, actually. This came from hydropower, and where we produced hydrogen for the fertilizing industry, producing ammonia. And we also build on oil and gas, an oil and gas sector, in particular when it comes to safety and security, operating in the harshest environments on the planet in the North Sea. We really do know how to manage these substances in an environment that has to be safe. And this is about the whole value chain, from the production, storage, transportation to application. And that's also why I mentioned this area, because this is also relating down to the cities in Maharashtra, such as Mumbai. And there is a collaboration, as an example, between the Port of Oslo and JMPT and MPT in Mumbai. Mumbai and Oslo are port cities. The ports and the emissions from ports will be important for the climate budget in Mumbai. And greening of ports is therefore important to achieve the climate goals. This collaboration has the scope that involves shore power, solar or battery coastal vessels, the application of hydrogen and ammonia, etc. And the Port of Oslo is Norway's largest general cargo port and its leading container and passenger gateway. So it's actually with the combination of JMPT and MPT, we fill all the elements. I will not say too much more about that, other than that this fits again very nicely into the collaboration, and where we also have to look at ports and transportation at sea, because maritime transport pollute less and will be really important in terms of reducing less climate-friendly road transport. So this is an important part of the equation that has to be in place. And I'd like to mention, I know I'm speaking in length here, but the collaboration between India and Norway on autonomous electric cargo vessels being built at Cochin shipyard. It's outside Maharashtra, but still this is a pilot, and which is very interesting in terms of technology collaboration and business to business collaboration between India and Norway. And 6 days ago, the world's first fully autonomous battery cargo vessel was launched in Norway. So we are at the forefront. Okay, this brings me to the end. But I would like to say that climate change is not only a challenge, it is an opportunity. And that's the positivistic approach I think we should have to this. It is an opportunity to develop renewable energy. It is an opportunity to develop new technologies and sustainable practices, and to create jobs and to create values for companies and also for the society as a whole.
Right.
I would like to add, I would like to just to say that back to the issue of hydrogen, that Norwegian companies are in dialogue with the largest Indian companies along the whole green. In addition to hydrogen, that there is collaboration on the whole green electric value chain with these companies, where most of them are based in Maharashtra and Mumbai, and this includes solar, batteries, electrolyzers, and fuel cell. And all of these areas have huge potential in Maharashtra and in cities in Maharashtra, including Mumbai. And all of these are connected and are key to zero emission society. So I just want to say that I'm very happy to acknowledge the ongoing collaboration. There's a lot that is going on already, and it is framed really very well with ambitions for a climate action plan for Maharashtra and Mumbai. And that I look forward to support this in any way I can, and look forward to the next time we interact. So and also to the discussions that will follow. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Sahaning and Flo, Honorable Consul General of Royal Northern Consulate in Mumbai, Maharashtra. Thank you so much. You talked about a lot of areas where Norway and India, especially Oslo and Mumbai city, are partnering. Like you talk about the climate budgeting collaboration, and also you talked about the JNPT port and port of Oslo, and also talked about areas like green mobility, use of ICT, IoT, and also renewable energy. What are the areas of collaboration can happen and being happening in the future also? But I like the last part when you said that climate change is not a challenge only; it should be seen as an opportunity, because climate change can actually help us all to bring our focus more to renewable energy and also to make a sustainable ecosystem. Thank you so much, Mr. Anif, for joining us and sharing your views on that. Uh, I think all of us speakers talked about partnerships working together, and this even could not be happened with the partnership with the Bank of Maharashtra, being the principal banking partner. So we have with us Mr. Ramachandra M. Ragiri, Deputy General Manager and Zonal Manager, Bank of Maharashtra, Mumbai North Zone. We welcome Mr. Ram Ragiri. We know Bank of Maharashtra has been doing a lot of work in the state of Maharashtra for the finance sector and also for the infrastructure as well. So, how do you see that urban transformation is taking place in Maharashtra, and what is the scope where a financial institute like Bank of Maharashtra and Government of Maharashtra can collaborate in future as well? Your thoughts on that, Mr. Ram? If you can unmute your mic, please.
I'm sorry. A very good morning to you all. We are actually, Bank of Maharashtra is very, very happy to be associated with this kind of event, wherein the urban innovation is a primary discussion point. See, Bank of Maharashtra has been today identified as the fastest growing bank in public sector banks. We have, over the past 1.5 years, been topping the public sector banks in range of performances in all the parameters. Topmost parameters, we are on the top level. So Bank of Maharashtra is a fast growing bank, and we are shortly going to be termed as a mid-sized bank. So we are on the way. We have recently opened our 2000th branch at Tirupati, Tirumala, So we are working in close relation to government of Maharashtra, and we are promoting all the schemes whatever government of Maharashtra and central government have envisaged for urban development, like be it by PM Swanidhi for street vendors, taking it to the street level. I'm talking about. So from the basic to infra, yes, infrastructure has been the most primary sector where we have been financing. We have financed power generation, distribution. We have financed monorail. We are associated with MMRDA for all the services. We even have some credit lines, also small credit lines, open for them if they wish to enjoy. We are already open. And renewable energy. These days, we are talking about mostly of renewable energy, and of course, EV electric vehicles. So these are the two projects which are going on in a big way. And renewable energy, even government of Maharashtra is coming out with huge plans for developing renewable energy across the state of Maharashtra. So even in that, we are in preliminary discussions with Mahatma Phule Renewable Energy Department, so that we are going to be strongly associated and will be supporting the initiation of the government of Maharashtra under this segment. So apart from that, we are also financing waste management products in projects in Mumbai. We have wonderful customers who are actually servicing BMC for waste management. So these projects are very at a very what do you call minute level. They are providing services across Mumbai, and these are one of the best projects happening in Mumbai right now. So that contractors also we are financing from our bank side, and of course metro projects, roads and buildings, and coming to urban development. Like as you know, Mumbai is a fastest growing city, and it is growing and growing. Both, of course, I am in charge of North Zone. As such, Mumbai North is comprising of Bandra to say Dahisar and Mulund. So in this aspect, the local setup also, if you see the urban innovation and development, if you talk about the development of MSMEs, particularly financing the MSMEs, we are manufacturing services. This is also has been our forefront vision, because we want to reach out to the public and say that Bank of Maharashtra is a public sector bank, and true to its name, we are a common man's bank. So we have been financing a lot of MSMEs, lot of retail which are into housing, particularly. You can take the housing also, like urban housing. MADA is there, which we are closely associated again with the department. And MADA, whatever projects are there, those projects are also being financed by us. So these are the things which are like Bank of Maharashtra is focusing on today. Of course, it is a challenging thing to say that we'll be reaching out to like the vision of the country, but definitely we are giving a strong supporting hand for the government of Maharashtra and government of India in taking forward the urban development, urban innovation to the next level.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramachandra M. Ragiri, Deputy General Manager, Zone Manager, Bank of
Thank you.
Maharashtra from Mumbai North Zone.
Thank you so
And
much
as
for
you
the
said, the Bank
opportunity.
of Maharashtra is partnering with Maharashtra government in various urban development projects, along with focus is also on renewable energy sector as well. And we need institutions like yours for collaboration between government and so that those development projects can carry on. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramachandra Ragiri. And we are joined by a special guest from the government of India. We are joined by Shri G. Ashok Kumar, Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission, Minister of Jal Shakti, Government of India, a very senior IS officer who has worked in various capacities in states in Government of India and has been playing a pivotal role in taking Ministry of Jal Shakti National Water Mission's Rain campaign for effective rainwater harvesting to the breadth and length of this country. We welcome Sri Ashok Kumar. And thank you so much for joining us in the inaugural of Sustainable Urban Innovation Conclave Maharashtra. We had seen the presence of Honorable Consul General of Brazil in the inaugural, along with the Consul General of Norway in the inaugural. Also, we have representation from Bank of Maharashtra, and we're also joined by Mr. Rahul Kaddail, young IS officer, is a Joint Metropolitan Commissioner of MMRDA, Government of Maharashtra. And the welcome address was given by the program mentor, Sri SVR Srinivas, who is the Metropolitan Commissioner of MMRDA. So over to you, Suji Ashok Kumar, your vision, your thoughts on importance of effective water management for urban transformation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon on all the senior people on the panel, my colleague. So I missed out my batchmate and close friend Srinivas' address. So we have been together for in many occasions, in many webinars. So he's also an infrastructure man. Welcome and greetings to all of you on this discussion on a very, very important topic of water management for urban transformation. If you notice, water is slowly growing, getting its prominence or its due share in the scheme of things, because now many places water has become a very limiting factor for growth. It is one of the very, very basic, essential resource for living, obviously, and also now people are realizing that many places water has now become a very limiting factor for growth, because availability of water is very, very important. And the reports of the various studies say that the availability of water in the country, the per capita availability of water in the country, in India, is going down, and water presence or manifests itself as one of the most important manifestation of the effects of climate change, because we are now having a lot of issues which we never had seen before, like the sudden intensity of rainfalls, short, very, very intense rainfall, change in the monsoon, the rainy patterns, change in the season, because the seasons are getting shifted, urban flooding, and rise in sea levels, etc., which are very, very patently seen in the water sector. So water sector, though is not contributing much to the climate change, it is one of the most affected parties as far as the climate change is concerned. And that's why the water has become of a very point of discussion, and our Honorable Prime Minister has also realized the importance of water by setting up a ministry with bringing in various departments which were handling water earlier. So a Ministry of Jal Shakti was constituted to help uniformity and single command decision making, because water is handled by various people, and hence that's why it was a multiplicity of command was creating problem. And this formation of Jal Shakti Ministry in Government of India was one major step in that regard, to get uniformity of command. I've seen the honorable CG of Brazil, etc., where the water is in plenty, and in India the problem is of plenty in some places and of very deficit in some places, because it's a very vast country, and we have areas which get about 11 millimeter, 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall annually, to 13,000 to 3,000 to 13,000 millimeters of rainfall. So that's a huge spread in the quantity of rainfall received, and also our rainfalls are very, very very, very time specific, because it happens only during the monsoon period mostly. So we are just getting over our monsoon period, and as I said, realizing the importance of water, Honorable Prime Minister had started a very big campaign called Catch the Rain Where It Falls, with the tagline, where it falls, when it falls. Basically, it is a campaign for decentralized storage of water. This is a very unique concept, where they thought that we will have water stored in the maximum water stored in the decentralized form in your own compound, in your own premises, rather than have big dams built up in some part of the country and then pump the water back by in pipelines. So this concept of catch the rain where it falls, when it falls, which essentially means the storage of water in the decentralized form where it falls has been lauded by many people, and I'm very happy to tell in the last 6 months we have done more than 40 lakhs structures. That's about 4 million structures done in the country to store water, and the copy of the rainfall which we received in the last the rainy season, probably a lot of water was to be addressed in this ensuing months. So with large number of structures built with people's participation, made that Catch the Rain campaign movement a very, very people-centric movement, a decentralized movement. Now, coming to the importance of water in urban sector. See, the more and more people, urbanization is taking place in the country. More and more people are moving towards the city. So there is a lot of demand for water, for drinking water purposes, as well as for other purposes, domestic uses and industrial purposes coming up in the country. So, as I said, the availability of water is not much of a criteria in India, because we get sufficient rainfall. We get sufficient rainfall in the form of about
How much time this is full day? Eh? What are you telling me?
Okay, shall I continue?
Yeah, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Somebody was talking in between. Okay, so basically, the availability of water is not a problem because we have sufficient rainfall. But the major problem which we were encountering was about the poor management of water. That's where effective water management for urban transformation is very important. The term effective water management is very important. See, as I said, if you look at it, the maximum usage of water in India is in the agriculture sector. 85 to 99% of water is actually in the agriculture sector, with very poor water use efficiency. Where the water footprint of materials produced in India is much more than compared to many other countries. So that is one big issue which we have to address. So in the effective water management, increasing water use efficiency would be the very, very key factor, because we can reduce the water usage if you increase the water use efficiency. That's one thing. In the rural area, but if you look at the confining the discussions today to the urban sector, so urban transformation also we require a lot of water particularly for the drinking water purposes and the industrial purposes in the peripheries are there. So in the urban and rural sector, the usage of water is different, and hence the water management strategies also would be different. The availability of large land area, open area in rural area, and the usage of water more in irrigation requires a different strategy to be handling the water in the rural areas. Whereas in urban, it is more of water use for drinking water purposes and probably associated needs of industry and other purposes, but not for irrigation much. And the issues of water in urban sector are also slightly different, because quality of water is very, very important, because most of the water, as I said, in urban area is used for drinking water purposes. So quality of water would be of very, very great concern in urban areas. In rural areas, a little bit of sewage water or a little bit treated sewage water can be used for irrigation, which is good for irrigation. So so that's why the treatment of water and how to address the issues in water in urban areas are slightly different. So that's why I'll focus on a couple of things which is very, very essential in the in urban areas. See, because of the real estate values of the land in urban areas, a lot of water bodies in the cities are disappeared. In many of these cities like Mumbai or in Hyderabad or in Delhi, we find the number of water bodies which existed probably 20 years back has come down drastically because of the encroachment of that. And second very important thing, in particularly in urban areas, is the pollution of these water bodies due to the dumping of debris and also dumping of sewage by the local municipalities. In most of the urban bodies in the country, we find that because of the lack of good sanitation facilities or sewage facilities, the local population always tends to dump the sewage into the water body and then creates a lot of pollution load on these water bodies. So these are two very major stark issues standing up in the urban areas. And on top of it, we have the water supply boards, which are supposed to mandate to supply piped water to the houses in most of the places. And we are also committed under the SDG goals 6 particularly, of giving access to clean and good drinking water to the people. The bodies which are supplying water are not having sufficient funds to handle the water. Maybe a city like Mumbai will have a lot of funds, but there are most of the other cities, the corporation itself doesn't have much funds to handle the development projects there, and the situation of the water distribution sector or the companies are in much worse position because of the inappropriate pricing of the water, and also a huge NRM, that's non-revenue water. A large quantity of water in urban areas are lost due to improper measurement or non-accounting of this water, and also non-metering of the water. So one may if we want to address the issue of water and ensure that we stand by the SDG goals of providing clean water for everybody, and also of giving good access, democratic access to the water. That means equal address to everybody. People living in slums also get good water. Then we have to ensure that the water supply, the bodies which supply water, or the entity which supply water, have sufficient resources with them. And for that, to have good resources with them, you should have a proper pricing of it. To have a pricing of it, probably you should know how much water, and you find out where the water losses are happening. So that requires a good metering. So metering will be one of the basic fundamental essential requirement of water management in urban areas. Whether we prices or not, that's a separate thing, but at least we should have a proper management of the or metering of all the water which comes into the area. Particularly, I find that in many of the cities, you have the bulk suppliers supplying water to the apartment complexes, and individual metering of apartments are not done. So this actually reduces the incentive. It's not an incentive. It disincentivizes people to save water, because ultimately it is paid by the society as a whole. So individual saving of water does not come up. So probably we'll have to start individual metering of individual apartments, and so that the water, there's an incentive for reducing the water by the apartments. So metering is one, appropriate pricing is one, reducing the non-revenue water is one, and using the technology to deal with this is very important, because you can have a lot of technology inputs to look at the detection of leakage or asset management, or running these the water treatment plants, etc. So that can also be very effective ways of water management. Because I remember when I was in the Hyderabad Metropolitan Water Board in 2008, when we started the daily water supply in Hyderabad, because Hyderabad used to get water once in 3 days or 4 days, bringing water to the tap lines. We started daily water supply in 2008 after a gap of almost 24 years. Then one of the major interventions which we did was, apart from laying pipelines and improving the distribution system, was using the SCADA. The SCADA facility actually helped us monitoring the levels of water in various water reservoirs, and seeing that the pumping of water is synchronized, so that the water distribution happens uniformly across the city. And that saved a lot of water, and also ensured that the water distribution is very uniform and equitable. So the technology has to be leveraged for the water distribution management in the cities. And very important is the use of recycled water, because if you notice, as I said, the maximum usage of water in urban areas is for drinking water purposes, and 60 to 70% comes back as sewage. or as water which can be reused. So the grey water, which is not the sewage water, the other water put together, can be treated with low cost and probably used for non-potable purposes in a big way. So, grey usage of reuse of reuse grey water with little treatment would be one of the major interventions to ensure that there's water availability or less drawal of water from the aquifers and reducing the water availability in the aquifer. So that is one thing we should happen. Look at the increased reuse of water, grey water, and also the sewage water, treated sewage water can be brought back for non-potable purposes. So if we can separate these two, less treatment for the grey water and use it for non-potable purposes, and a little more treated or caustic involved, technology involved treatment of the sewage water to bring back that water also for non-potable purposes, can reduce the water load which we are taking from the pure water which is used for non-potable purposes. That is one thing. So reduce the water usage by multiple usage of water in urban areas, because we find that many places you have ROs kept which waste a lot of water. So the reject water of ROs can be used for multiple purposes. So multiple usage of water, reduce usage of water, and recycle water can be one of the major interventions to do the proper water management in area. This water, I'll stop in another 2 minutes. The water, sewage water, treated sewage water can be used for industrial purposes, and many of the municipalities are now realized the potential of selling this water and earning a lot of revenue. There are municipalities like Surat which gets at almost like 140 crore rupees a year by selling this sewage water, treated sewage water for industries, and they are much more than the money which they are spending on supply of water. So this is an opportunity, a golden opportunity for municipalities to look at treatment and selling of this treated water for irrigation purposes. Bangalore municipality sells a lot of water for treated water for irrigation in the nearby areas. If the villagers are willing to take it up, because it also adds nutrients to the crop, and it's much better water than the poor good water which is taken out from the ground. So the usage of treated water can save a lot of water which is otherwise being pumped out from the ground for irrigation purposes. So this is one major ways of managing the water. So, and most important is the people's participation. We have a lot of very good opportunity in urban areas to involve people, because resident welfare associations and gated communities are there in urban areas, so they can be properly counseled and then cajoled and probably motivated to do water harvesting and saving of water that can be helped in proper water management. So last point I would say is the catch the rain campaign which we were doing it. So basically we have to catch as much rainwater as falling in your compound, and see that maximum water is impounded in your compound and very little water goes out of the compound. This can help in increasing the water table as well as reduce the urban flood, because urban flooding, if you notice, has become a recurrent phenomena in the recent past. So if we can store as much as water in your compound, which is now lacking because of the high level of concretization and tiling which has happened in many of the courtyards in the cities, and the compaction of the ground due to urbanization. If that can be somehow circumvented and see that the water is stored maximum in your own compound, you can save a lot of water and also ameliorate the effects of urban flooding. So these are some of the water management techniques which can be recommended for urban areas. And water, as I said, would be one of the very, very critical and limiting factors, because we have to provide water to the people. And if you're looking at the growth of economy, water is essential for all the industries and for the economic growth. So this is where recycle and reuse of water, reduce the use of water, and probably getting back the respect of water by proper pricing and proper metering will be one of the solutions for urban transformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was Sri G. Ashok Kumar, Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission, Minister of Jal Shakti, Government of India, for sharing his vision on importance of effective water management for urban transformation. Uh, you talked about how water usage in rural area and urban area are different, and the main two problems for water bodies in urban area is one out of encroachment and one out of pollution for dumping and all, and how uh, uh, treated water and grey water can be used separately, and how technology can be leveraged to manage this water ecosystems, because end of the day the respect for water has to be there. You have respect for water, you can recycle, you can use water. Thank you so much, Sri G. Ashok Kumar, for joining us in Inaugural and sharing your vision with us. And with this, I move to Sri Rahul Kardai, uh, IS officer, Joint Metropolitan Commissioner, MMRD, Government of Maharashtra. MMRD is the supporting partner of this APEC Sustainable Urban Innovation Conclave. For his closing remarks, over to you, Mr. Rahul. You have heard all the speakers in the inaugural. Your thoughts and vision.
Thank you, Savik ji. I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for arranging this very insightful online seminar. And I'm also grateful that for all eminent speakers who have given such a valuable insights. As Srinivas sir rightly said that MMR region is planned by MMRDA, and he highlighted the importance of Mumbai city and MMR region because this 2% of land comprises 21% of Maharashtra's population, 36% of its GDP, 24% of income tax come from this region, 36% corporate tax come from MMR. So you can imagine from this fact that how MMR is important for Maharashtra's and India's economic growth. Mumbai is a powerhouse of India. Then it is the second most crowded city. As we are witnessing that as city grows, it reels under its own pressure because this is a global phenomenon. When we grow, there is a mobility comes down. So I think the first major challenge before MMR region is to finance important infra projects. As we have seen that we had earlier Wilbur Smith model in 1962. After almost 40 years, MMRDA has come up with Comprehensive Transportation Study Part 1 that was released in 2004, and recently MMRDA has come up with Comprehensive Transportation Study Part 2, and we have planned this total network of roads, important public projects for next 20 years. So major challenge remains that how to fund that because India is a capital shortage country, and we have to devise innovative ways and means for financing. So how to do it? Maybe we can release masala bonds, then compulsory convertible debentures. We can uh, uh, we can charge additional cess on stamp duty on purchase of vehicles, renewable licenses, then renewal of vehicle licenses. Then land monetization could be one option. Land opening could be one option that will also help in redevelopment of existing slum area. So these could be some options, and I hope in coming sessions, the eminent practitioners, eminent speaker will throw some light on that. So that is one thing, and already we are doing that. For example, India's longest ceiling, that is a COD to Nhava Shiva ceiling, 22-kilometer long, that is being done. Secondly, 300 kilometers metro network that is being carried out by MMRDA. So these are two things. But as we move on this front, we can also witness that there is a uh, Downs-Thompson syndrome. That is a paradox. When we are developing infra networks, road networks, it may not necessarily decongest. Rather, it can add to the congestion because if it's not in tandem with a public transport system, if it's not convenient for public transport, then it lead to further congestion. So I don't think that infrastructural projects is the only key for that. We also have to introduce some public transport system like metro, mono, then other ways and means. Second thing, as Consul General of Norway has rightly said that they have India and Norway are closely working on hydrogen cars, then electrical cargo vessels. So that could be next solution. So these two things are important, and I think some lights should be thrown on that. Uh, I'm also thankful for the important lecture given by Consul General of Brazil, because Sao Paulo and Mumbai has some there is comparable cities, and we can draw some lessons. He also highlighted that along with economic and social development, sustainability is the key, and the model which has to become up should consider all these factors. Then I'm thankful for Bank of Maharashtra, who not only is a partner of this important conclave, but BOM is playing important role in financing in major key projects in Mumbai and Maharashtra. Then Ashok Kumar sir has highlighted the importance of strategy in water distribution system. He also poses stark issues like encroachment of water bodies and availability of clean and uninterrupted supply of water. That is the important thing. So again, I'm thankful to all the stakeholders. Such conclave brings all of us together, and it gives innovative solutions that may be a long lasting. So again, I'm very thankful for this important session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Rahul Kardile, Joint Metropolitan Commissioner MMRDA, for sharing your thoughts. And as you have said, the MMR region is very important for not only Maharashtra's economic growth, but for India's economic growth. The data you have given, how much tax it generates, and how much investment are there, it's huge. And as you have said, that infrastructure project is one of the focus areas, but also smart transport, mobility, everything has to be there to reduce the load of the cities. And you also referred Honorable Consul General of Brazil and also Honorable Consul General of Norway's vision, and how so this is like Mumbai or Sao Paulo or Mumbai or Oslo can collaborate more for that sustainable urban development. And as Mr. G. Ashok Kumar has said, that respect for water has to be there. You have respect for water, you can bring lot of innovative changes for urban transformation vis-a-vis water sector. And as Mr. Ramachandra Ragiri of Bank of Maharashtra was saying, that they are keen to partner more with Maharashtra government in terms of a lot of infrastructure projects for urban transformation. So that brings us to the end of the inaugural of APEC Sustainable Innovation Conclave Maharashtra, which is supported by MMRDA and also by Bank of Maharashtra. We are thankful to Mr. Guilherme D. Aguilar Patriota, Mr. Arnehan Flolo, Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, Mr. Ramachandra M. Ragiri, Mr. Rahul Kardile, and our program mentor, of course, SVR Srinivas, Metropolitan Commissioner MMRD, Government of Maharashtra, for joining us, enlightening all of us and our audience with your visionary talk on various aspects of bringing urban transformation. And that can be policy, that can be technology, that can be other things. But as I think to attain that sustainable development goal, a sustainable urban transformation needed, and cities will be at the core of that sustainable urban transformation. Thank you so much. Do join us for the next session at 12:30 on smart, secure, safe, and connected cities, innovations and best practices, in which you will see presence of smart city commissioners across India and Maharashtra itself. Thank you so much. Take care. See you for the next session. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.